You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
And yes, this is going to be a show of shows, because why? This is what grinds my gears in comics part 2. And we're going to talk about a couple of things here. And I'm going to give some shine out to Havens for Heroes, because he's slowly doing all of these shorts that pretty much, comes out with the same sentiment that I kind of have about some of the things that have been going on here. Looks like we got the Parallax Spectre going on here, and we got Tori in the house. And what are you saying? It's like, oh yeah, they can't wait for the grind, because we want to talk about it, because what I've been seeing as of late with the interwebs as far as comics is concerned here, we're going to talk about it. And Havens for Comics is actually kind of, expressing a lot of stuff that I have mentioned in the past, but he's really going into it more so and everything. Even though he doesn't use the term dude bro, so his term is comic bro. So if you go out and watch his rants and stuff about comic bros, that's how we term our dude bros here. Yep. And yeah, Beanie is pushing it. So well, we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. But you guys know what we got to do first. We got to do our things first here, such as, where is it? Yep, there she is. Stupid o'clock happening 1 hour into our show here. If we go into our second hour, that's followed up by Last Man Standing at 1. You get your respite for Monday, 10 a.m. before you can have Nicholas Tockard. And don't forget about Comic Book Spectrum this upcoming Thursday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. It will always be that way. But before I go off the rocker, and trust me, I'm about to go off the rocker here, because people who I respect their opinions, it's very rare that I get to the point where I'll be like, why are you doing this? It's like, it doesn't matter. Then I see something else to be like, you know what? That's a perfect description for them. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. But it gets to the point where I will probably say a few things that may make some people angry, but I'm saying it in the aspect of not saying that you're wrong. I'm just putting it out there to be like, the point of the hobby is to enjoy what you like. But we'll get to that here. But before we get to it, you guys know what time it is. And yes, it's about to be live this week, because we got new books that came in this afternoon. So I held off of taking the books that came in during the week to storage. But so we're going to cover everything in one live session here. And we're going to go ahead and do this here. So over the week, I finally finished my Girl from Uncle collection here. So we finally got issue number 2. And the last issue of it, issue number 5. So now I have all 5 issues of The Girl from Uncle, which is great. And then we got this nice little gold key Tweety and Sylvester for free. I believe this was issue like 106 or something to that magnitude. So that is pretty good. Yep. Old people books. I haven't even got into the real old people books here. Somebody showed me a Spirit insert from like 1940 something earlier today. So that's really old people's book. This is only 1960 type stuff here. We haven't got to the real old people stuff as of yet. She's like, I like free Tweety. Yep. And then we got Marvel Team Ups 125 featuring Tigra. And this is not the first Marvel team ups with Spider-Man and Tigra, but this is the first one where she has her orange hair and not the black hair. And then we got some Lois Lanes here to kind of pad out the collection. We're going to start out with a not so great copy of issue number 58, but that's good enough for the purposes that I need it for. And then we got issue number 78. And then this is followed up by 80, where she's like, I'm through. she tears out the word girlfriend to just be like this. And then I finally got me a copy of I'm about to hit you with this green rock and put it into you here. Look at this big old green rock I'm about to hit you with. It's like, no, Lois, no, don't hit me with that green rock. And then the whole blindfold thing, talking about the woman with the killer eyes and everything. And then the memorial one where it's like her and whoever is the space bride and Superman. It's like, no, Lois can't be with this futuristic guy. But the Lois Lane covers, they are hilarious here. Now, for Beanie and Lil's purposes, since they want to talk about old people's book, the next book is definitely an old people's book. From 1952, we got Crime Does Not Pay. This is issue 108. It's not in the best condition because you look at the very bottom, it's kind of like chewed up at the very bottom, but this is from 1952. This is old people's books. We're getting to old people's range here. So yeah, that's old people's books. And then we got the volume 1 of DC's Bombshells. This is the deluxe edition here. I believe this is the first 6 issues here, which is pretty nice. This is a nice addition to have at the house, and I could keep the bombshells that I have in storage minus the number ones that I might get graded. Yeah, from 11/9/1194. Wow, 5-digit year. Yeah, that's what you need to do. We got to preserve those. Yep. That Crime Does Not Pay. If it was in better condition, that would be one that I would actually send to get graded here. And now I'm up here trying to complete some of my Uncanny X-Men type stuff. So this is Uncanny X-Men 18. I believe this is volume either 3 or 4. I can't remember off the top of my head. We got another issue number 2 of Miss Marvel. I believe this is Miss Marvel from volume 5. Then we got some Jughead number 167. And don't laugh because I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to accomplish something with this title here. So I finally got issue number 2 and issue number 3 of Barbie. So there's a purpose behind that one. That one has a particular purpose here. I got a second copy from the very first volume of Gotham Series Sirens. This is issue number 2. I got one of my missing issues for Gen 13, issue 25. And then I got another duplicate of 36. Then we got my missing Glory 17 from the original run of Glory. And then number 7 from the New Adventures makes up the last issue that I needed for the New Adventures here, because they only ran 7 issues from Kitchen Sink here. So now I have the full run of Spirit the New Adventures here. Then we got, I know I have another one somewhere buried up in here, but this is Miss Mystic 5 from like volume 3. So I'm getting close to having all of volume 3 Miss Mystic. Again, another complete set here. Finally got my issue number 4 of Carol and the Carol Chorus here. This was the one that I've been missing for quite some time here. So I might actually read this before I take it back to storage. Then another missing issue in the collection, Dazzler Volume 1 for issue number 38, which is great. I have a sealed pack of Barbie. He booby. Yeah, I love Barbie. Why would I laugh? The art is great. Yeah, but you'd be surprised of how many people who think about comic book collections and everything, they would laugh at what you may or may not have in the collection here. I have, to be quite honest, I have a Barbie 1. Now I have 2, 3, and other odd issues here. So if I get a complete run of Barbie, it will be preserved for the purpose of display for like pop culture days and stuff like that for a particular museum, upcoming museum and everything here. Yeah, screw them dude bros. Do what you like. It's like I only yell at Alpha Flight. I have a sealed Barbie number 1 for Beanie Cool. She refuses to open it. The only way you're going to open up that sealed Barbie number 1 if you go and get it graded, because they're going to have to open it up. But then again, if you have to get it graded, you're going to, knowing how your mom is, she's probably going to send it to somebody to get it pressed because she doesn't trust CGC pressing. Oh, there it is. Volume 3, issue number 6 of Miss Mystic. So that means my volume 3 of Miss Mystic is almost done. Yeah, it's minty. And then this is a kind of a hard thing to find here. And this is kind of like an offshoot of the Spirit here. But this is John Law Detective. It's only 1 issue long, but now I have a copy of it thanks to our favorite red bearded pirate. And then I got a small little run of Domino here, which again I'm missing issue 4. So we got Domino 1, 2, and 3. I am missing issue 4 from that series here, so I might be looking for that here. And this is another one for those who like double impact. We got High Impact number 1. And surprisingly enough, there's only 1 issue of High Impact Studios. So this was a good pickup here. And then I got my Real American Hero stuff going on right now. So that means we got from volume 1 from Marvel, I got a better copy of 59, a better copy of 60, a better copy of 86, which was the 25th anniversary one. If you ever read this one, this goes back to like what Beanie would say, old people's books here, because the Joe that they highlight here was one of the original 1960s Joe, or not, well, I would say late 50s GI Joes here was mentioned in this one here. Let me see, Minty. Yeah, she said I will press it myself. But I won't have the line down the middle because of the back cardboard and yada yada yada, like they had with the X-Force. That is true. Well, you don't buy Barbie because it seems that it goes down a rabbit hole. If you get into like Barbie fashion, that series, it definitely goes down a rabbit hole. But her main series, her very first series, it doesn't go that far deep. So I'm okay with that. So that's the only reason why I've been picking up issues here and there, but it's not something that I'm up here like actively looking for, on a consistent basis like other women-led titles. Yeah, Tori, my wife and daddy won't let me buy Witchblade unless it's a mini series. Yeah, because then I would have to get all 188 Witchblades ongoing. LOL. They would let me pull the new volume, for the ongoing series here. Yeah, some of the Barbie fashion has Jim Lee art and Amanda Conner first work. Yeah. So Barbie fashion is that rabbit hole to me here. But as I was saying here, this was, they was referencing the very first G.I. Joe in this one, which goes back to like the 1950s. And I forgot what was significant about 98 here, but this is getting to like the tail end of that G.I. Joe run for Marvel. And then we got the volume one of G.I. Joe for IDW, which is pretty nice from the 2010s. So that's a number one there. And then that's just a beautiful cover from that volume here. This is actually issue number 16. So that was a nice version variant for issue number 16. And then after I turn around and found all of my missing Marvel Universe Deluxe in storage, these happen to show up. But I still have to thank the pirate for having them, because these were the ones that CLZ was saying that I was missing, but I found my full run of it. So I got another copy of issue number 4 from the I think this is 1985. Yeah, 1985 Deluxe edition. So that's issue 4, 10, 11, 13, and all the Books of the Dead. That's 16, 17. 17 is, it's got some war damage on it. Not the best copies here, but 17 is still there. Oh, I'm missing 18. So I guess it was 5 Books of the Dead. 19, and there's the last one, which was issue number 20 here. Oh, Snaky. B says, can you gift them to me? Gift what to you? What does she want as a gift? Oh, she wants my triples. I don't think I have triples of these. I think all of these would just be my doubles. Most of these would be my doubles here. At least for Marvel Universe, that is. And then I believe this is the full run of Clockwork Assassin, but we got Lady Mechanica, the Clockwork Assassins. I believe that this is cover B for number 1, cover A for number 2, and cover A for number 3. So another series, which I'm going to put right up here. That would be up here for review for Comic Book Spectrum, because I know people like that. Another copy of Spirit number 25. And the only reason I know that's an extra copy, because guess what I found in storage today? The majority of my Spirit collection. So now I know I have all of volume 1 from DC, because I went through all of them. I still got to find my rest of volume 2 from First Wave from DC. But from what I have in CLZ, I pretty much have the majority of the run. So they're kind of still hit and miss in the boxes here. So I just got to deal with that as I need be here. I forgot which volume of Red Sonja this is, but I know that this is a later Dynamite version of it. But this is from 2016, Red Sonja number 1. Still not as good as Old School Marvel, which is issue number 9. Still not as good as this, but everybody really gets it more so because of the artwork on the cover. So that's kind of like the major thing here, but it's okay. And then we got Oh yeah, this is Razor Torture, issue number 0, Platinum Edition. So that's Razor 0 for Torture, the Torture series here. And then this is issue number 1, the Chromium number 1 for that here, which is nice. And surprisingly enough, and I'm surprised that I actually bought this here because, you know, even with the discount, I would have been like, oh, wow. But it is a first print, but this is Razor number 2. Now, according to my records, I believe I have a Razor number 1 somewhere in storage, which I don't know where it's at and everything here. And then I forgot what these are. I know it's Double Impact. I'm just trying to remember the issues off the top of my head here. So we got Double Impact. I believe that this is issue number 3. And if my memory serves correct, that's issue 4 from volume 1. And there is Double Impact number 1 from volume 2. Yeah, it's a lot of shiny books here. A lot of shiny books, but that makes up comic book pickups for the week here. For this week here. I still got some outstanding books still coming here. I still got to pay for some outstanding books, the newer books here. Yep, I do. I did. I did here. They're like that double dog. Shiny. Yep, but that's the new comic book pickups for the week here. So, you know, I'm quite happy today with more along the lines. I just pretty much was trying to sort books, and I finally got the spirits into a actual short box now. I'm trying to drag out more of them as I go through books here. What's weird is that as I'm sorting books, I'm seeing more Wonder Woman books that I have duplicates of. I'm seeing more X-Men titles and side titles and extras that I never accounted for. And it's kind of hurts because I can't look at the Iron Man, the Flash, some Teen Titans books. I had a whole bunch of Teen Titans books going across. I believe it was like volume 3 and 4. I didn't realize I had that many. I had a whole bunch of Flash that I need to get through. I still have to get through at least a couple volumes of Justice League, more of the modern Justice League, not the older stuff. I mean, it's a lot of books that I have to get, you know, go through and try to get them sorted in short boxes and everything to that magnitude, as well as maintain, you know, the archives and stuff that I got here. I mean, I'm finding more and more of the Spider-Woman and stuff outside of the short box that I had for them and stuff to that magnitude. So I'm trying to get one side that I have nothing but the loose issues cleared out, or at least boxed up in their proper boxes before I move on to dedicating boxes to things such as like Legion of Superheroes and stuff to that magnitude. I probably have a Legion of Superhero box and Legionnaires box, but I just don't know. But anyway, it is that time for maybe a short little rant, and we're going to have you guys talk here. But what really grinds my gears here? Hey, Lady Fantastic. I hope that you have having a great day and everything here. Now, what been grinding my gears this week? Well, one of the people that I watch from time to time has decent content, and I don't knock his content. I do watch Swagglehouse from time to time, but over the last couple of days, Swagglehouse did something that kind of made me go like, why did you do this? And if you're going to go that route, you're kind of perpetuating one of the biggest problems that we have in our community here. And that is, he got a couple of books graded by PCA. And people who don't know what PCA is a well-known authenticator for like sports cards and stuff to that magnitude. They're a big name. They're, you know, if you get your sports cards graded by them, you could get great value for those cards here. So he actually got a couple of comics graded by them, actually went to eBay to see how much those books would fetch, to do a comparison between PCA and CGC. And I'm sitting back, it's like, okay, that's your prerogative and this, that, and the other. But the reason why he was doing that is because, you know, he's more proponent for PCA. And he was like, well, if we're getting closer and closer for PCA, meaning that margin that a CGC book, you know, can fetch, then the doors open up for true competition. It's like, no, that's the wrong way to look at it. The right way to look at it is this: as a community, who do we trust more? Yeah, there's problems with CGC. PCA is a newcomer to the comics industry. Are they really offering better encasements? Not really. Are they offering anything that is not being offered at CGC? Not really. The only difference is the name. Their name has a reputation for sports cards, not for comics. And those who are into sports cards and may be into comics are not really not really the real focal point as far as who you would get to preserve your books per se. But like everything, everybody going to look at that ever mighty green dollar. Greenbacks rule, everybody else drool. It's like, not necessarily. But then again, it also takes away from the hobby as far as enjoying the books that you have here. And that's kind of like one of those things that, like I said, we're going to give, you know, great shine to Havens for Heroes, because he's been doing a lot of shorts that saying it's like, hey, these guys that are up here that's doing all this speculation and not really reading the books, that's a problem. When it's like, it's when are you going to take the time to actually enjoy what you buy? Everything is not a quick flip type scenario. Everything is not about the speculative aspect about it. The hobby of comics is really about reading the content and enjoying the content that's getting put out there. And I agree with that. Especially as a comic book creator, I 100% agree with that. I know, you know, Parallax and I call him Dude Bros. He calls him Comic Book Bro. You know, we are in agreement with that. And I kind of put this whole thing about this comparison between CGC and PCA in that same category. Does it really matter? Because if it really mattered that much, why haven't other grading companies have gone to the wayside? We still have a PGX. We still have EGS out there. We have all these other graders out there that people are still going to. We still got CBCS out there that people are still going to. But yet, everybody's looking at, oh, what's the biggest bang that I can sell my comic for, instead of, okay, who has the better encapsulation case here? Will PCA finally go the UV route and have something that's UV protected? Now, my mind came up with something which I'm going to say that is patent pending, is that if I had my way for encapsulation, the inner well would have a particular sleeve that would be vacuum sealed, which means that your comic would be pressed and everything and then put in a sleeve that would then be vacuum sealed before it's encased. So you have an extra layer on there. That way, the case does not have to be like watertight. It could be water resistant as long as that vacuum sealed inner side innards is water resistant, watertight and sealed properly. You have extra protection and everything to that magnitude. And that's, to me, makes me want to jump from one company to another. Not because of resale value on the secondary market for what name is on the label of the grade, but it is what it is here. But it's just kind of like one of those things that it just doesn't make any sense here. And I've seen all the comments here. We're going to go through some of these comments because I see that we're going to have a great discussion with this here. So Lady Fantastic is greeting that. It's like, yeah, sports car grading is so much pickier than comic grading here. It's like comparing apples and oranges. But yet PCA has now officially joined the game of encapsulating comics now. So now they are a talking point amongst those who are in it for investment and return and flipping aspect of it. Does a PCA graded book attain the same type of money as a CGC book? My thing is like, who cares, in the bigger scheme of things? Because if you want a book bad enough, you'll buy a CBCS slab if you really want a book bad enough. You'll buy a PGX slab if you really want that book bad enough. Sometimes the grade doesn't matter because, everybody's up there is like, well, CGC, 9.8 is this. And CBCS 9.8 is really like that. And it's like, but again, 9.8 is 9.8 based upon the person that's certifying it. Do I trust all 9.8s from CGC? No. Do I trust all 9.8s from CBCS? No. But I would probably trust a signed slab from CBCS a little bit more than CGC. Only because Beckett authentication is a little bit better than what they have with JSA. That's just me. Now with PCA, they haven't even told us who's really doing the authentication of signatures. And that's only if they're doing signature series. We don't know. Yeah, cars are insane with the centering and all of that. Again, that gets into the whole crux of why are people going goo goo gaga for PCA? And everybody is like, they're cheering PCA on to be like, give CGC some type of real competition or a run for their money. It's like, we got 4 or 5 other companies that does grading. PCA is not going to do that. It's just that, yeah, PSA has already been ordered here. Yep. Isn't it PSA? Yeah, PSA. What it is PSA, PC. Whatever it is. I don't care. That's how much I don't care about that. Yeah, it's like they're not CGC, but they've been around forever and they are super strict. But again, they're super strict for sports cards. They're getting into the comic game. Now, the question here is, how good are they going to be with actually grading comics? Are they going to follow the set standards that is set forth by Overstreet? Are they going be like, hey, I'm about to buy the CGC book for their grade standards and kind of sort of use that? Or do they come up with their own? We don't know. Only thing we could do is speculate of how strict they're going to be with those comics here. That's the only thing that we can do here. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine because, again, That's something else that really grinds my gears too. This whole raw versus graded. It's a stupid conversation to have. And the reason why I say it's a stupid conversation to have is it's like raw versus graded to me is more along the lines like, oh, I'm going to put this in a BCW bag as opposed to a Mylite. It doesn't matter. It protected the book. whatever floats your boat, if whatever floats your boat. If you can spend the money to get it encapsulated, go ahead and get it encapsulated. If you can't, nothing wrong with raw. It's just what it is here. No plastic tubes for your books here. I don't consider it a plastic tube. It'll only be a plastic tube if there was no way forever that you can ever break the casing here. And the casings can be broken, but I get your point here. And like I said, for preservation purposes, and I explained this to people like Beanie and Lils here. When I get a book encapsulated, it's usually a book that is of the highest grade of all the ones that I own here. I really rarely have like one copy of a book and send it to get graded. The only way that I have a book that's only a singleton that is graded is if I bought it graded initially. For example, I believe my Hulk 340, the stupid, and I know this is going to piss some people off. This stupid Todd McFarlane claw with Hulk's reflection on it. That book I bought for the low price. I believe it was like $60 graded. Couldn't pass up a deal like that. I'd rather pay $60 graded than $60 raw. But that's the difference here. I bought it that way. If I buy a single comic graded, and that's the only one that I have, that's the only one that I saw, and I got a good value for it, I'm buying it. Now, if I have books that, like for example, like let's take my Wonder Woman collection here. Usually I have multiple copies of all these Wonder Woman issues. So yeah, I'll probably just choose like the best one that I have, send it over, because I could always come back to the raw ones that I have and reread it. Or if I have it in trade, I have it, where I could read it again here. So that's my standpoint as far as the whole raw versus graded. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, if I choose to, put it in, as she would say, a plastic tube, I'm putting it in a plastic tube, knowing in my collection, knowing good and well that I have an extra copy that I can always go to a raw one and read. That's just the way that it is here. Not to say that what you're doing is incorrect. No, I believe that. And then I see you follow up. It's like, yeah, Mylar is perfectly fine. They're just as good, but my only problem with Mylar is that they haven't came out with the UV protected Mylars as of yet. And then I would prefer that over BCW bags or any other plastic meal bags as a whole here. But Mylar is not fancy. Mylars are not fancy. And trust me, I came from back in the day. I'm about to show you something that was considered fancy smashy back in the day. Now, I just took books out of this one. This bad boy, it's not Mylar, but this is the old school, and I'm going hopefully it shows up on camera. This is the old school Ultra Pro sleeve here. Back in the day, this was the fancy smancy type deal here, because it had this little bitty arm right here that you could slide the top of the cover like so, and it would it would be like you could seal your book that way, where you don't have to do the whole taping down and all this other stuff. That's getting to like this fancy smancy stuff from back in like the early 90s, late to the late 2000s. That's the fancy smancy stuff from back in the day, because my lights have been around for years. But the fancy smancy stuff was like that, or the new comic capsules. That's getting fancy smancy in those terms, Lady Fantastic. But I get your point. I get your point. I'm not making fun of you, but I'm just saying it's like fancy smancy to me would be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put all my stuff in comic capsules. It's like, why? You know, my lights are cheaper. These things right here, these things right here have now come down in price where it's just like, oh, okay, I could get me 50 of these for $15. Okay, that's fine. I'm good with them. I'm good with them. I could put, get my same bat boards and put my comics in these my lights. And I'm good. I mean, it's just whatever you choose to, it's just whatever you choose to display your books in. That's just the way that you have to look at it. Yeah, I'm a CBCS gal, but honestly, as long as it's preserved, I'm not picky, and that's the way that I'm looking at it, and that's why I say with the PSA stuff that's coming around here, there's no investment in the encapsulation. So why is this such a big thing? Other than, oh, they're tougher graders. Why can't somebody come out with a UV protected casing? And then if that's the case, if Comic Capsule is that, how come CBCS, CGC, PSA, PGX, EGS, and all these other grading companies haven't piggybacked off of it? Just saying. Just saying. This is one of the reasons why it's like this stuff really grinds my gears when people are up here trying to play this whole pissing match with who has the better grading system. It really doesn't matter. Yeah, I would only buy certain books graded. I'm not going to go with the UV light and rulers and the jeweler loop for the Fantastic Four number one. See, I bet you one thing, Parallax. If the casing that your Fantastic Four number one had Newton rings up in it, you probably be like, okay, there's Newton rings up in there. It still looks good in its casing. I'm not going to go back and be like, oh, this is a manufacturer's defect. I'm going to send it back. Okay, we might have to charge you $25 for a reholdering. Okay, again, that's the whole encapsulation system that's there here. You sent me a photo. Okay, so that means I really didn't want to turn on my other monitor because I don't want to really get into that. But let's see what this photo is, and if it is worthwhile for talking, we will put it up on screen here. Okay, so the PSA. So okay, I'm going to show you what the picture that I mean sent here. So that way everybody know what I'm talking about with the PSA. So this is the PSA. This is one, it's a 9.4. This is their encapsulation here, which again doesn't look any different than any of the other ones other than the label. The actual well does not look any different. The actual sizing of the casing does not look like it's any different. There's no innovation there. The only difference is the fact that, and let me kind of, if I could blow it up a little bit more, I don't think I have it's not going to allow me to blow it up here. The only difference here is it has the 3 little letters of PSA and its red label. That to me does not make does not make me want to jump ship and be like, oh, I gotta get all my books for from PSA. Yep. Yeah, I understand the preservation of certain older books for grading, but I'm not getting great. Yeah. There's only a handful of modern books that I would ever think about getting graded, and those are the ones that I know that I'm going to keep for the test of time. That's very rarely a handful of them. Like I do have a couple of the She-Hulk ones of some of the modern age graded, because I know I'm going to keep those for prosperity here. But they're few and far between. And it's like I don't understand. Well, that's a whole nother rant. But we're going to stay focused here, because I'm not going to go into modern age of comics and some of the other stuff that I don't understand why they're getting graded and why they're so sought after, especially with the manufactured rarity that is going on now in these days and time here. But that's the main thing here. That's what PSA slabs look like, and that's where everything going. It's like, yeah, don't forget Halo. Yeah, and the newer graded cases are ugly. Actually, they look pretty much like, they actually kind of sort of look pretty much like PGX. PGX is in a certain way. That's just how it comes off to me. A PGX slab looks exactly like a PSA slab, but that's just me. That's just me. There's nothing new. There's nothing new up under the sun here. And that's what CGC does right. No, I don't think CGC does encapsulation right. What they have done, they probably have improved, some aspects of their casing here, just like how CBCS improved their aspects of casing. But I don't see EGS changing cases. I don't see PGX changing their cases, as PGX did change their labels. PSA, we just don't know. We just don't know as yet. The handful of people that did get their stuff graded through PSA, they're liking their stuff, but the first thing that they're doing, they're not getting it and saying, I'm having this in my collection. They're getting it and saying, I'm heading to eBay to sell this real quick for I can see if this is equivalent to a CGC slab. So that's the thing that's really grinds my gears here. If an EGS slab does not fetch the same price as a CGC slab, a PGX slab does not do the same thing as a CGC slab, and now CBCS has caught up to CGC. So, but yet people have their their picks and choosing, and that whole thing. If they're team CBCS and team CGC arguments now, what makes you think PSA is going to fare any better? Unless you are a big fan of card collecting and have dealt with them in the past, it's going to be a hard, I wouldn't say a hard hill to climb, but it's going to take some influencing to the rest of the community to make the rest of the community go over to PSA. Not to say that it can't be done, but the problem here is that you got those who are merely in this thing for investing purposes spouting off about this might be a CGC killer. And I'm up here, it's like too early to say that. How many other grading companies that came out since PSA? Now, mind you, PSA has been doing this for cards for umpteen years, but this is their first foray in comics. Comics and cards are two different things here, and expectations are different too. Yeah, the inner well walls are all waterproof, just not vac. No, that's a misnomer. I could show you. I could show you videos of where people have submerged CGC slabs and CBCS slabs. After so many minutes, water will be able to get into that inner well. That's the reason why I'm up here, was up here is like trying to figure out a way to perfect that vacuum sleeved insert. Because if you had a vacuum sleeved insert completely sealed where your book is at, it doesn't matter if your book gets dunked and submerged in water. The water would never get into the book to cause any damage. So that's kind of like where I'm at here. That's right now, and that's across the board for all slabs. That inner well is still not 100% secured. Now, mind you, it like I said, the inner well, for the inner well to get wet, if a slab gets submerged, it normally takes anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes before the water eventually could get in and seep in. But it is water resistant. It's not waterproof. Waterproof means it can't get in. Water resistant, it'd be like, yeah, it would keep the water from getting in up to a certain point. And like I said, if it's completely submerged, forget about it. It's just going to be a matter of time. And then, let's see. Yeah, there's spray with argon and seal. Yeah, not always. Not always. It really depends. It really depends on who's doing it here. It really depends on who's doing what. I know CGC is that way, but CGC is that way. I believe CBCS is that way. I can't speak for EGS because they have a different type of casing. PGX, I can't speak on either. Yeah, there's no argon. Yeah. CGC won't blow up already if they use argon. Yep, boom. Yeah, argon is inert, just removes the oxygen. Yeah, CGC will find a way to make it flammable. Well, again, if CGC was truly using argon, there would be no Newton rings. With all these people complain about Newton rings being in the inner well, if argon was truly used in the right way, like Lady was saying here, there would be no Newton rings. So there would be no quote unquote manufacturer defects. So I don't think they use argon in that inner well like people think here. But she is correct as far as removing the air like that. Yeah, and we know that the oxidation is the main source of aging and deterioration of paper products. Yeah. But again, the book is kind of sort of in a sleeve. It's not just there in the inner well, just raw. It's like it's in like this one protective sleeve with like another insert in the middle of the book. So they have to do something for that inner sleeve. And that inner sleeve is really loose. It's like a pouch. It's not a sealed pouch. It's just a pouch. So that's the reason why I know when they was doing all these testings with submerging slabs, I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. It's like we're supposed to be up on the understanding that they're supposed to be waterproof, and they're not. They're water resistant. It's like some slabs, it might take up to 10 to 15 minutes before water gets into them. Others will take 5. So it's kind of like one of those things. It's like, yeah, don't get your slab submerged in water. If water hits them, you're good. But if it's submerged, you have to get them out of there quickly. Yeah, they did. They did pretty much. Preservation here. Yep. Wolvie Hulk. Yep. I hate that cover. I know you hate that cover, but that was one of the ones that, like I said, was that I bought as a singleton here. No, I have another copy of. I bought it as a singleton, but I ended up getting another copy of All New Wolverine, the first cover appearance of Laura Kinney in the classic Wolverine suit. Other stuff that I have, that I bought as a singleton. I know I won a facsimile Hulk #1. That was something that I won. I know I have more. But I just can't think off the top of my head as of right now here. Yeah, Wolverine looks old. The Hulk looks like crap, and the claws, the claws are wrong perspective. Yeah, I get it. I like Hulk 197, Hulk and Swamp Thing. Yeah, Bernie Wrightson goodness. And that's a messed up thing here. The only Bernie Wrightson covers that I really like, and I kind of messed up in that way because I'm not a big horror fan, but I love Bernie Wrightson's covers for New Mutants. His New Mutant covers to me were great. But then again, I'm not a horror fan, so I don't really get to see I don't really get to enjoy Bernie Wrightson's goodness because I don't like horror. Yeah, that was a nice buy. Yeah. Well, that's the problem with Hulk 340. That's a common book. But because people seek it out so often, just like ASM 300, people don't realize that ASM 300, there's already over between CBCS and CGC, there's already over 60,000 copies already graded. It's not a rare book. And people are selling that book raw all the time. It's not that rare. People's FOMO is making that book skyrocket, just like with 340. People's FOMO making that book skyrocket. By sheer numbers and statistics, that book should not increase in value to maybe another 15 to 20 years from now. Yep, long game. Exactly. Now you begin to understand where I'm coming from here. Yep, Ultra Pro. Yep, that's a 1993 goodness. People don't remember Ultra Pro back in the day. Yeah, PGX Slabby are seeing feels a little sturdier. They might be here. I think the best way to prevent UV damage to comics is just have them stored in short boxes / drawers where they're in the dark 99% of the time. Yeah, but then again, you got people who do like shows like me that have them all displayed all over and be like, hey, look at the collection that I got and this, that, and the other. I mean, I have all mine in like short boxes behind me and everything. I don't have them out and shown out like that, but all the books that I have out right now is like books that I'm reading on the shelf here, that which I normally like grab behind me during Comic Book Spectrum. And I'll be like, oh yeah, this is what I've been reading over this week. This is what I'm reviewing for this week. That's the way that I go about it here. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. If you are an investor, I guess for their purposes, but now I'm going to say a very unpopular opinion here for those who like investing. If I was a true comic book investor, the one thing that I would be harping, jumping up and down, screaming to the top of my lungs would be for all of the people who are doing comics in this modern age to stop doing things digitally, go back to doing Bristol board. Why? Because the comic pages are worth more as an original piece of art than it is on a digital screen. If you do it digitally, the best you could ever do is a print. It's not original art. It's not considered original pencils. Why? Because when you print it up on a Bristol board, it is a print. It is not the original. If you ink it digitally, when you print it up, it's still a print. That's just me. If you really want to invest in that aspect of it, you may want to buy the book and then seek out those pages. But that's a lost art here. That's a lost thing that I believe that's happened in modern comics that a lot of people never truly understood in the bigger scheme of things here. I kind of wish that we went back to that, to force creators like myself and others on the independent sphere to be like, hey, I would like not just the original sketch, I want the original art boards of what you did. Those could fetch anywhere to maybe a couple $100 to a couple $1,000. And then, like you stated before, Lady Fantastic, the long game. 30 years from now, that $100 purchase or that $200, that $300 purchase could be a $5,000 yield. Just, like I said, this is also speculation, considering the fact that the book lasts that long and there was a lot of people who were into it. Like, for example, if something I'm picking on Something's Killing the Children because I know that has been around and people still into it as of right now. If Something Killing the Children #1, if those pages ever got out, that their original pencil pages and their original ink pages, where it wasn't digital and people actually start buying it, 15 years from now, when we get to like issue 200, 300, or wherever it would be by then, those pages would at least be 1,500 or more instantly. No questions asked. But, that aspect of the production side has gone away. But that's just me. That's just me in understanding the production end of it here. Yeah, I didn't lose my mind over the Newton rings. Yeah, just like the inner well of CGC, they could have only a few months. Yeah, I did too. And surprisingly enough, I just recently got my Ultimate Fallout 4 graded. I think it was last year I got it graded. It did okay. I think it was a 9.4. It got a 9.4, so I'm not upset about it. And I was like, oh, I have to get my 9.8. It's like, no, it was still in a poly bag. I had it still in the poly bag, unopened poly bag, and I didn't realize that I had a first printing of it. I always thought it's like, oh yeah, the one that I probably got is probably like a second printing or a repro It was like, no. It was a first printing of Ultimate Fallout 4. I saw it. I kicked myself. And that year, I ended up grading it when I found it in my collection. Yeah, I agree. Modern's LF is like, it's just, no one needs Batman Deadpool one-shot graded. Indie, we all agree. It's like PGX have always had terrible labels. I agree. It does nothing. It's like the PGX label is just like, I don't know if they're like, I could do better off on the printer that I'm sitting over here. It's like, comic capsules and the way that they give you their boards where you can feed through a printer. I could probably come up with a better label than what they do. But CBCS said, hold my beer. And they did a short run like 8 months after the horrible label. Actually, CBCS went through 3 iterations of their label right now, and their current label is like meh. I mean, it is what it is here. But I've always been Team CBCS. I haven't been. And the only reason I haven't been really Team CBCS here is really mainly because of turnaround times. If their turnaround times was a tad bit better, I might be jumping ship. Yeah, they're not sealed, they're not sealed. They don't, they're not sealing them properly then. Yeah. I would never trust a seal of any encapsulated book to be waterproof. And again, the way that they seal them and the way that outer edge is, you could tell that it is not, that the seal is not completely, it looks completely sealed, but water finds a way. Water always finds a way. So that's one of the reasons why I'm more concerned about the inner well. If they put a vacuum sealed sleeve where your book is completely sealed on all sides and no air is present in there, I will be a lot happier if the slab gets submerged in water. I know beyond a shadow of doubt the book would not get damaged. But doing that sleeve is going to be the problem. Yeah, there's always a backup. Yep. Yeah, no quality to control, like the Doritos chip inside the inner chips. Again, all that is dealing with production here. My watch is water resistant up to 100 meters, which means that the seal that they have on your watch, if it gets submerged in water, it has to go at least 100 meters down. Why? Because at 100 meters, the pressure that the water exerts on it is different and it could pop the seal. That's the one thing that, again, these encapsulation companies does not tell you. They don't tell you how long a book has to be submerged in water before water creeps into that seal. They're just thinking it's like, oh, we dunk it in there, it stays in there for 1 minute, pull it out. See, there's nothing inside the inner well. But what happens in a flood? Let's say you're in a basement and it floods. And you're not aware of it, and by the time you come aware of it, it's been an hour, 2 hours. That book is ruined. It's something to think about. And then again, if you do the whole Mylar thing, it's like, yeah, if the Mylar is truly taped down, you have to be like, well, did I tape the edges just properly to keep the water out of it, to keep any type of moisture out of it? Same difference. But that's just the nature of the beast here. Yeah, they don't do that. I know they don't do that. Yeah, I looked into it after asking. Yep. Plus, sparaging generally involves removal of diffuse oxygen. Yep. Yeah. If they were vacuum sealing or spraying, it's like then they would be seeing it from the mountain. See, Lady Fantastic knows exactly where I'm coming from. She knows exactly where I'm coming from. So I agree. The protective insert is just sealed. Yeah. You just have to hope and pray. Yeah, not completely O2 free. And that's the thing. It's like it would cost too much money to have something encapsulated that was completely O2 free. The best we could ask for is a encapsulation process where the inner sleeve is vacuum sealed before it's sealed up in their encapsulation, as you could say, the encapsulation tune. As of right now, there's a plastic insert where your book is in there with, I forgot what type of paper that they put in the middle here, that helps it, that helps it, keeps it from dealing with the air that's still in there, to keep the pages from deteriorating over time. I forgot what type of paper that they put up in there. But if they still use that same type of paper, but yet use a vacuum sealed sleeve where it's sealed on all sides, and before they put it in that well, you have a very stabilized means of displaying the comics here. The only problem here is that you have to figure out a way to get UV protection in that plastic. But that's just me. Yeah, but if something, if something in slab is it's going to last forever. Sorry for the evil laugh there. Sorry for the evil laugh here, because I'm just thinking about all the complaints that people had about the early days of CGC and the early slabs that was encapsulated, and they resubmitted those books after breaking them out and repressing them, and they ended up getting worse grades as a result. But they was up there as like, well, but they've been encapsulated for so many years like this. It's like, yeah, but the older slabs did not protect them the way that you think they should have. Yeah. They'll be taking your slabs out on the yacht. Oh my goodness. Lady Fantastic is a riot. It's like, here comes the Rolls Royce. You drive up in a Rolls Royce. It's like, by chance, do you happen to have a Iron Man #1? But of course, if they're going out there on yachts and stuff. Yeah, but by forever, I mean a lifetime. In most cases, yeah, for a lifetime, as long as you keep it in a dark place and everything to that magnitude, free from a lot of different air environments, free from different light sources. Like even with this LED light bulb that I have up here, LED light is still just as bad when it comes to UV. And it's just weird. It's like the more you start studying about UV protection for comic books and everything, the more you kind of figure that it's like, oh, you got to really protect comics from light. I mean, really protect them from light. Like in storage, like my storage is encapsulated where it's like if I close the storage door, it is dark. But there's enough light getting in there that could start some fading. So if it's not boxed up in like a short box or something of that magnitude, you could be doing kind of like a disservice. Light does destroy a lot of books. And when I say destroy, I talk about dealing with fading and everything. But it takes time. Yeah, Bernie Wrightson did. Yeah, Bernie Wrightson did some New Mutant covers. I believe he did covers like somewhere between like issue number 15 through 30. I know somewhere around there was a lot of Bernie Wrightson covers. No, New Mutants. No, I'm talking about Marvel's New Mutants. Matter of fact, hold on. 42 one of them. You're right. It was the mutants. You're right, Lady Fantastic. You're right. You're right. It was the mutants here. I'm thinking of Bill Sienkiewicz. Bill Sienkiewicz. I don't know why Bill Sienkiewicz and Bernie Wrightson, their art style just seems so familiar to one another. But yeah, you're right. It was the mutants here. Yeah, I think it was wax based or acid free paper. Yeah, to separate certain pages. Exactly. Yeah, I was thinking of Bill Sienkiewicz. Yep. Who happens to be one of my favorite artists of all time. Yeah, and Barry Windsor Smith for 42. Yeah. I don't know why it showed issue 42. I was like, no, that's Barry Windsor Smith. That definitely does not look like the books here. And I'm thinking, yeah, you're right. It was the mutants here because I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking of the mutants, but I'm also thinking of also Bill Sienkiewicz because I like Bill Sienkiewicz's weird artwork for when they was dealing with a couple of those stories that they was dealing with here. But in general, getting back to why my gears are just so grinding right now, because with this push about the hobby funding itself, and I'm up here, it's like the hobby can't fund itself unless you're going into it as a mindset to sell off what you collect. If you're planning to have that type of turnaround, then a lot of the stuff makes sense. But for a person like me, who's been collecting for more than 30 plus years, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for me to try to buy like something in the Killing the Children #1 and then trying to flip it for 5 times as much. It doesn't make any sense to me, because why? I'm looking at the long game. The long game is the longer that I keep it, the more valuable it becomes, because eventually the number of issues that was originally printed slowly dwindles down, whether it be from people throwing them away, people destroying them by accident, yada 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 yada. That's the reason why golden age books are the way that they are, and books before the golden age are the way that they are. The reason why they demand so much money, the rarity of coming across them are a lot harder, and everybody wants to put out there, it's like, oh, what if somebody comes across a warehouse that has a whole bunch of Action Comics #1? And I was like, if that happens, do you know how much that book would plummet? All these people who invested millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a well-groomed copy, whether it be a 9492, their book plummets several thousands of dollars because there are now an influx that's hit the market. And this is not because of like in I have to separate this and make sure that people understand the separation between facsimile and when a whole new group that falls in the same first printing category gets added into the market. If that actually happens, there's going to be a lot of people crying because people lost hundreds of thousands of dollars because the supply has increased. Same thing could be said for things like Giant Size X-Men #1. If all of a sudden, somebody finds in a warehouse another 50 to 100,000 copies of them, that plummets the price of that, plummets the value of that book. There's nothing more you could really do in that aspect here, but that's just the way that it is. Yep, Legion, Magic, and the Demon Bear. I never thought Demon Bear would have been a key like it was, but people made it a key. I just never thought about that. why would it be a key? I mean, it was kind of like a one-time thing. It kind of goes back to why I ended up grading X-Men #8 from 1963, because Uranus the Untouchable was a one-time appearance villain. He never showed up again in the Marvel Universe. Was it a key? Kind of, sort of, but it wasn't a big key. It wasn't like a mainstay villain, but it was kind of like a one-off that was just so unique that they never went back to reuse the character. Not because the character was bad, but it was a hard character to kind of use in any other story. But it is what it is here. But getting back to what I was saying about the investment aspect of it, that's the reason why it kind of grinds my gears. Everybody wants to look at the fiduciary or the monetary value of things here, but yet comics are entertainment. We're supposed to be reading them and enjoying them. Just like people who have music collections, they just don't buy a CD and just let it sit on the wall and be like, I have this album. Or even worse, they don't buy a vinyl record and let it sit on the wall and be like, I own this record. No, they buy a record player. They buy a CD player. Or if you're into the whole streaming thing, it's like that's one of the reasons why your list for Spotify is the way that it is. And if you pay for your subscription, you have unfettered access to it. But you're not just creating your list to be like, oh, I could listen to these jams whenever I want to. You actually listen to them. You actually enjoy it. No different from comics. If you're buying comics just for the simple fact that it's an investment and you can't take the time to read them, then what's the point? What's the point? Now, I joke every now and then about, how modern day comics are now the poor man's art gallery. And to a great degree it is, because a lot of people buy a lot of these different books for the covers and everything, and they like the artwork that's on the covers, and they get it graded because they love the cover so much, and this, that, and the other. But it also goes back to the point that I've been making here. Why pay, upwards of $100 for a book when you could go ahead and get the actual original art or art print for less? You could frame it up, you have the same difference. But I just don't know. I just don't know. I'm not saying that those who invest are shouldn't do it. Only thing I'm saying here is that as a community, we all have to intermingle with one another to a certain degree, and we all have to coexist in a certain manner. And in some manners, the investor really, kind of impedes on those who really enjoy reading, because of the simple fact that they kind of drive that pricing to the point where you might price out that reader, that longtime reader. You might price out, a book that they've been wanting to have in their collection for several years, all because you're willing to pay 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times as much as what they're really willing to pay. But we all have to coexist one way or the other. And that's one of the reasons why we got to, keep a check on FOMO to a greater degree. But, I kind of talk you guys' ears off here, but that's what kind of been grinding my gears here. I don't like calling people dude bros, or as Heroes for Haven call them comic bros. People going to collect what they like. And just like I was saying earlier today, I don't want people going boo hiss because I bought Barbie books. Maybe tomorrow I might get on an Alf kick or a Muppet Babies kick, and you never know. But right now I'm collecting Barbie for a particular reason here, because it's not through the speculation, but it's because it's one of those things that should be preserved. And for some reason, I'm seeing all these investors kind of like eyeing them. Up here, it's like, well, I need to get these books before they become too unbearable. And when I say too unbearable, I'm talking about the price just skyrockets to the point where it's just not even worth it anymore. But what do you guys are out there? What do you guys are grinding your gears over dealing with the hobby as of right now here? Let's take a couple of minutes to go ahead and talk about what's going on with you guys here. While you guys are typing here, let me also do some accountability here. I did a couple of posts on the Patreon. So if you're not a Patreon subscriber here, guess what? You missed out on some possible not safe for work covers for the upcoming anthology of Legends of the Giantess Slayer. And yes, I am actually thinking about releasing the first 2 issues very, very soon here. I mean, I'm currently working on issue number 3. This would be something that Parallax Spectre might have her eyes on. I have actually started work on Primetime Saturday Night number 6. And why Primetime Saturday Night number 6 is important, because in her eyes, there is a character that's coming out that is pretty much a reflection of her in the series here. So that is being worked on as of right now. I'm still trying to get myself motivated to do issue 8 of Amazonia number 8. And I'm working on a whole bunch of other stuff that's coming down the road here. I still got to get out of this funk dealing with CGC too, because I've been doing favors for other people here, and they've been using my my general account, not my artist account. My artist account is specifically for me and what I do with the CGC Studios, but I have another one where I send my own books from my private collection to get graded and everything back here. So I had somebody that I know had me to send some magazines and some of the books here. So we've been slowly getting those back and getting those books finally graded, finally paid for, and all the other stuff here. So it's been a lot to do here. I still got to go ahead and update the mailing list as far as everything that's going on. So those who are on the mailing list, be looking out for it between now and next week here. And just to let you guys know, next week is going to be another special episode here. Why? Next week's episode will be celebrating 50 orbits around the Earth. And that's not an easy feat nowadays here, with the way people have been, killing over and all the other stuff here. So yes, I will be celebrating 50 years orbiting the Earth here. So 50 years, 50 orbits, I should say, 50 orbits around the Earth. Or I should say 50 orbits around the sun. Because the Earth rotates, so if 1 year is not one rotate, 1 year is one orbit around the sun. So 50 orbits around the sun. So that's the major thing here. So that's what's being celebrated here. So hopefully there'll be some good news and some great news, and I won't be in no bad funk about the big 5-0 in a lot of people's cases. People are going to be like, you're getting ancient. I'm just getting better. That's just the way that I have to look at it here. So that's the reason why next week episode is going to be special here. And I guess nobody else has anything to really say, because I want you guys to kind of piggyback off of that. What's really grinding your gears here? I know there's more stuff about this hobby that's been grinding your gears, and let's talk about it. I know the whole PSA thing was one, and that really stuck out when I'm sitting up here. It's like, wow, you went heavy on the investment side of this thing, and just, I know a lot of people are not going to take this wait and see type approach here. I mean, I'm glad that people went out there and and got books graded by them, but to test the secondary market that quickly, it's just one of those things that it's like, why do it? Why do it? If you and I guess this is the thing here. For a community that has a lot of people doing content like I do, a lot of it seems to be towards investment and just not pure collection or creativity, because I was like, I'm not seeing a lot of people out there anymore talking about, hey, I create comics and this is what I'm reading, or this is what I'm liking, or this is this is something that you might want to take a look at here, or hey, this is the stuff that I really get a kick out of. It seems like most of it is either like, oh, this is what I'm getting back from CGC or CBCS. This is the new hot book that everybody is trying to get graded to make money off of, or this is the next book that you should invest in. And if I know this much, and this is one of the things that I try to stay away from most of the time here. I try to stay away from speculation, because book that I speculate on, I speculate with rationality. There's one book that I speculate heavy on, and I made mention of it a couple of times here. And one of the reasons I speculate heavy on it, because I know of another well-known artist that has done images that came from said book. And when I say artists, I'm talking about fine art artists, the people who you normally see in all these bigger art galleries, has done panels from this book. So yeah, I spec heavily on it, but what I'm beginning to understand and see is that most comic people who are in the hobby may not be into fine art. Therefore, what I'm specking on won't matter to them. But yet, things that get spec heavily on, it's like, oh, this one has an option for a TV series. And I have always spoke negatively about that, trying to get people to understand that a TV audience is nothing like a comic book reader. Us comic book readers cross over to television easily, but TV watchers, movie watchers do not cross over to reading comic books very well. You rarely see it. But when you do see it, they get culture shock, because one, the stories are not one-to-one, and two, people in our community are not, at times, are not the best and most friendly and the most patient and the most accurate when it comes to helping new people into the hobby. And I have said this several times about certain brick and mortar stores. It's like, whenever you kind of get to that condescending aspect when greeting new people who come into your store, and you expect them to have some type of knowledge of comics instead of turning them on to something, you're constantly trying to turn them off because you're too new. You shouldn't know this type of stuff. Never do that. Never do that. And granted, we are in a day and age where, back when I was a teenager and reading comics, people used to laugh and scoff at us. Nowadays, it's commonplace. There is not that, if I could say, how can I put it? It's not looked down upon. You're not going to get alienated for it. But back in the day, we were. Does not mean that we have to be hostile to new people who coming in today. And it's just kind of like the same comment that about the whole American versus manga, American comics versus manga. It's all comics. Manga is a comic. Granted, it's from Japan. But yet the same processes hold true. The only difference between manga and American comics is really art style, art direction, and a little bit of writing, tad bit of writing. But art style and direction plays a major factor. And for those who are heavily into the American comics, they're up here, it's like manga ba. It's like, no, don't go manga ba. Don't put down, manga, and don't put down American comics, because it's all one and the same. I would challenge you to learn both sides. And if you learn both sides, you can understand why one might appeal to one group and why the other appeals to the other group. And then you can figure out ways to bridge the gap. But that's the major thing here. We're getting to the point, and I hate to say that the community is getting to the point where it's splintering. Just like how you have the Star Wars community already splintered, you have all these different communities splintering off into these little bitty subgroups that just can't stand one another. Comics is slowly getting that way. It's slow. I mean, I know there's going to be some people like, it's already been that way. We had Comics Game, we had this, and we have that. It's like, but bigger picture, the bigger scheme, the bigger picture, when you really take that step back and be the outside observer looking in, everybody still loves the idea of comics. We don't have to pick a side. We don't have to pick, we don't have to pick what is popular. Enjoy what you love. Stand up for what you like. That's one of the things, the reason why I don't knock Comicsgate that much. Now, do I like their philosophy? Heck no. But at least with groups like that, they try to do what they believe is right. They try to stand up for what they believe is right. Do I agree with all of it? No. But I know the place where they're coming from. I have worked with creators who have been alienated by said groups. And do I see that as right? Hell no. But the bottom line here is, we work in an industry where we are creatives. We create something that lasts beyond our lifetime. Creating stories that will affect other people. And when I say affect, I mean it's enjoyment. People get enjoyment from what we write, what we draw, how we present it. Whether it gets put into a movie, where it gets put into a video game, it shouldn't matter. The fact that the story is created and people love reading it is the greatest gift that anybody could give in this industry. But yet, we get into these bickering, squabblings amongst ourselves about the messages that we put up in our books, while violating the first rules of writing. The first rule of writing is always let the reader be able to make up their own mind about what they read. People don't want to be preached to. Write the story. Don't harp on the condition. Don't harp on the topic. Just write the story. Make the reader feel the character's pain. Make the reader feel the character's journey. Make the reader feel the character's problem. If you're able to do that, your message would get through. But you don't have to ham fist and be like, here's a hammer and chisel. I'm going to chisel it right there on your forehead about what you're supposed to read. You took away the fun. You took away the journey. You took away everything that makes what we do fun away. And to be quite honest, I believe that's one of the reasons why American comics are not doing all that well. And manga has surpass them. Mangakins can write stories about just about anything, and it's about the character's journey, not about the topic, that they want to write about, but it's about the character's journey. And this is one of the things that I've been learning writing that anthology series. When I look at the overall title and start thinking about what the title represents, and I chose the right method to do it. The right method that I chose to do it is that, one story would be kind of like a college course on one of the weird things about said topic, and then let the rest of the stories go the way that they do. Let the characters go on their journeys. Let the characters be the focal point. It's probably one of the reasons why I probably have so much fun with Primetime Saturday Night now than when I originally created it. Because when I originally created it, I had no inkling about how detailed I had to be doing a pro wrestling show. Now I'm actually having fun trying to do, backstage interactions, shoots, and all this other stuff to kind of give you guys the AEW and the WWE type feel of pro wrestling. It's fun now because I got out of a comfort zone. I'm writing characters that can be believable, that they are pro wrestlers with superpowers. That's one of those things that you have to develop yourself into here. And that's one of the reasons why I stand by my guns here, as far as, don't be representative of just one group or anything to that magnitude. Just be you. I don't agree with everything that everybody writes. I don't agree with how everybody goes about their writing aspect and their creative aspect. But one thing I will support is that if you're doing right by your fan base and you're writing good stories, I'm going to be there for you. However, if you get into that ultra preachy type mode, I might step back and step back further and step back further. Mainly not because of what you write, it's about how you're going about writing it. In the long run, you're not really writing a story. You're actually doing a report. Think about it. Anyway, it doesn't appear that anybody else is saying much of anything, so that means I'm going to let you guys go. I have talked too much here, and I gave you guys the floor, and it seems like nobody has anything to say. So on that note, I'll say live life, grow, and be well. Next week, the big 5-0. Am I ready for it? Nah. I'm not ready for it, but I don't feel the inkling of trying to relive youth either. It's kind of like, is it going to be another day, or should I just be like bouncing off the walls that I hit a milestone that other people haven't? I don't know. People used to talk a lot about turning 50, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. But it is what it is, and we're going to share that day to get together on next Saturday. So until then, see you later. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and I'll see you next week right here on From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. Bye.